Hello. For the sake of convenience, contract make hello. Let's discuss classification of contracts or types of contracts. For the sake of convenience, contract may classify according to their validity, according to their formation and performance. So let's examine them in detail. So first we are going to discuss classification according to validity. If any essential is missing, then the contract may either be void, voidable, illegal, unenforceable, or valid. Because the contract is based on agreement, and agreement enforceable law is a contract. An agreement is enforceable when certain essentials are fulfilled, which are stipulated in section 10. When those essentials are complied with, such agreements become valid. So the first classification, that is according to validity, the first one is void agreements. An agreement not enforceable by law is said to be void. Void agreement is devoid of any legal effect. It is a total nullity and creates no rights and obligations on any person in eye of law. Which is blank, you can say that which is blank, it creates no rights and obligation. Such agreement is called void agreement. For example, an agreement made by minor, an agreement without consideration, an agreement in restraint of legal proceedings. So such agreements therefore fail to fulfill the requirement under section 10, and therefore they are void. Void, void ab initio. Void ab initio means from its beginning such agreements are void. Second, voidable contract. A contract is one which can be avoided by some of the party to the agreement. An agreement which is enforceable by law at the option of one or more parties thereto, but not at the option of the other or others, is voidable contract. So here, when the consent is not free consent and when it is obtained by fraud, coercion, undue influence or misrepresentation, in such case, the agreement becomes voidable. The person whose consent has been so obtained, the option is available to that person whether to continue with the contract or to avoid the contract. If he avoids the contract, in that case it becomes void. If he does not chooses to continue, in that case it becomes void. The voidable agreement is not valid, it is not void, but it is in between, and therefore it is known as voidable. If a person he chooses to continue, in that case it becomes valid. The person whose consent has been so obtained, he has to elect whether to be bound by contract or to disown or to repudiate. Repudiate म्हणजे रद्द करणे. Repudiate it. If a party entitled to disaffirm and chooses to do so, then the contract becomes void. म्हणजे जर त्याने मान्य केलं नाही, म्हणजेच जर त्याने ते अवॉइड केलं तर इन दॅट केस इट बिकम्स void. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, ए कोर्सेस, कोर्शन म्हणजे धमकावणे. A courses B into entering into a contract for a sale of B's car to A. This contract can be avoided by B but not by A. So A cannot enforce this contract, but B can if he so chooses against A. Illegal contract. An illegal contract is one which is against a law in force in India, which transgresses some rule or basic policy or which is criminal in nature. म्हणजे जे उल्लंघन, ट्रान्सग्रेसेस म्हणजे उल्लंघन करणे, जे बेसिक पॉलिसी किंवा जे बेसिक रूल्स आहेत तर त्यांचं उल्लंघन जर केलं तर त्याला म्हटलं जातं ट्रान्सग्रेसेस or which is criminal in nature. For example, an agreement to commit murder or dacoity, etc. Or which is immoral. Immoral means, for example, to lend a car on hire to A and a prostitute for luring customers for immoral purpose. म्हणजे प्रॉस्टिट्यूटला जर ती कार भाड्याने दिली कस्टमर्स मिळवण्यासाठी तर such object of the agreement is immoral and therefore such an agreement is void. It has no legal effect. So such transaction may be in criminal nature or again may be against public policy and therefore such acts are punishable under Indian Penal Code if they are illegal. Unenforceable contract. An unenforceable contract which is perfectly valid in all respect but due to lack of some technical requirements which needed to make it enforceable. For example, non-registration असेल किंवा want of stamp paper असेल किंवा lack of signature, म्हणजे तो perfectly valid असतो पण काही technical formality हा incomplete असतात आणि म्हणून it becomes unenforceable. जसं नॉन रजिस्ट्रेशन असेल किंवा एखादा स्टॅम्प लावायचा राहिला असेल किंवा सिग्नेचर बाकी जर असेल तर it becomes unenforceable and when the defect is cured in future it becomes enforceable. Then the valid contract. An agreement which is enforceable at law is a valid contract. An agreement becomes contract in all the essentials of a valid contract which is stipulated under section 10 that already we have discussed are complied with. In that case such agreement becomes contract. For example, A offers to sell his horse for rupees 1000 to B and B agrees to buy it for this price. So it is a valid contract. It creates legal obligation enforceable at law. Next is classification according to formation. A contract may be entered into by three different ways. Number one, it may be in writing, it may be made orally, and third, it may be inferred from the circumstances of the case, that is implied contract. So let us discuss first express contract. This is according to formation. So when the offer enumerates express terms, म्हणजे लिहून किंवा बोलून जर ते टर्म्स ह्या एक्सप्रेस केल्या असतील and when it is accepted such a contract becomes express contract. म्हणजेच when it is entered by word spoken or written, so this is express promise and that express promise result in express contract. Implied contract. Implied contract is one which is not expressly agreed upon. When contracts are neither in writing nor oral, that may be inferred from surrounding circumstances, that is known as implied contract. For example, A takes a public bus or enters into a restaurant for a cup of tea. किंवा आपण एखादं पब्लिक फोन असेल, त्या पब्लिक फोनच्या स्लॉटमध्ये आपण कॉइन टाकतो. सो दॅट इज अ फॉर्म ऑफ इम्प्लाइड कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट. Quasi contract. Third category is quasi contract. A quasi contract is intentionally, म्हणजेच तो implied contractच आहे, but it is intentionally enter into by the parties. Quasi contract जो असतो that is not created by party, but that is created by law. A contract fulfills all the requirement. Quasi contract fulfills all the requirement for the formation of quasi contract does not fulfill all the requirements of a valid contract, because in quasi contract there is no offer and there is no consent. For example, A, he is a tradesman and B is a customer. So here a tradesman's A's agent, he by mistake he leaves grocery at C's place. सीच्या घरी तो गुड्स जे आहे ते डिलिव्हर करतो. बाय मिस्टेक इन्स्टेड ऑफ बी ही डिलिव्हर्स इट टू सी. आणि सी त्याला वाटतं आपल्याला कोणी गिफ्ट केलेला आहे किंवा तो आपणच मागवलेली ग्रॉसरी आहे, तर ते समजून तो वापरतो. बिकॉज A's offer was for B, B had given acceptance for A's offer. इथे सी ची कन्सेंट नव्हती किंवा सी ला ऑफर दिलेली नव्हती किंवा सी ची कन्सेंटही नव्हती. पण जर ते गुड्स सी ने जर वापरले तर हियर the law creates obligation on C, impose obligation on C, and thereby now C is under obligation to pay for it whatever he has consumed. So this is quasi contract. Quasi contract म्हणजे तो it's like a contract but it is not a contract, but it is imposed or it is created by law. तो कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट सारखा दिसतो पण तो कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट हा नसतो. Third classification, according to performance. Contract can again be classified depending upon the extent to which it has been performed. For example, executed contract and executory contract. Executed contract an executed contract is one where both the parties have performed their obligation. म्हणजे दोघांनी त्यांचे पार्ट ऑफ परफॉर्मन्स हे जिथे पूर्ण केलेले असतात किंवा पार्ट ऑफ ऑब्लिगेशन पूर्ण केलेले असतात त्याला म्हटलं जातं एक्झिक्युटेड कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट. फॉर एक्झाम्पल, A agrees to sell his car to B for ₹20,000. That is when both the parties perform their part of obligation or part of performance under the contract is said to be executed. Then executory contract. An executory contract, on the other hand, is one where both the party have yet to perform their obligations or yet to perform their performance. For example, if A has not yet delivered the car to B and B has not paid for the car, the contract is said to be executory. Unilateral, in a contract, one party has performed his obligation and other party is yet to perform his obligation. This is known as unilateral. म्हणजे एकानेच पूर्ण केलेला असतो इथे त्याचा पार्ट ऑफ परफॉर्मन्स आणि दुसऱ्याने केलेला नसतो. Bilateral, in contract where both the parties have performed their obligation. Bilateral म्हणजे दोन्ही बाजूंनी, दोन्ही पक्ष आपण ज्याला म्हणतो किंवा दोन्ही पार्टीजनी त्यांचा पार्ट ऑफ परफॉर्मन्स हा पूर्ण जर केला असेल तर दिस इज नोन ॲज बायलॅटरल कॉन्ट्रॅक्ट.